Hey friends, this is Lauren Taylor and welcome to the Trinity Stamps YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be sharing how I created 3 different birthday cards with Trinity Stamps products. They all are using very similar products and have the same layout but with different themes and different critters, so we can create some birthday cards for all seasons of the year. I am always running low on birthday cards, so I thought it would be fun to create some really cute, adorable little scenes and have these ready for different times of the year for next year. Some of the products that I'm going to be using are the Bunny Burrow 4x6 stamp set and its coordinating die, the Mouse House 4x6 stamp set and its coordinating die, and the Winter Burrow 4x6 stamp set and its coordinating die. I'll also be using the Simply Sentimental Birthday 4x8 stamp set and the coordinating die. I also have my Center Burst die set and the Embossed Edge Hills and Slopes die set, again, all from Trinity Stamps. And we're going to go ahead and stamp all of our images out that I'm going to be using. I did most of my stamping off camera, but I wanted to show you how I masked one of the little scarves from the Winter Burrow stamp set. I love that you can partner this with the Bunny Burrow stamp set. To be able to winterize your Bunny Burrow. So there is an additional little scarf in this stamp set, and I wanted to add this scarf to the other little hedgehog that is in the Bunny Burrow set. So I went ahead and stamped the scarf, and then I stamped it again on a post-it note, cut it out, and then used it as a mask to then stamp my second little hedgehog. So the one from the original stamp set that does not have a scarf. I peeled that up, and the way that I placed it, it will cut out with its coordinating die without any issues that I've added this additional piece to my image. So now I'm going to show you my coloring. I took quite some time to color. My original video when I was editing this was like 3.5, 4 hours long. But I'm not going to sit and make you watch a 3.5, 4 hour long video. So I did speed up my coloring a little bit. This is at 2 times the speed. And I'm just going to show the color combinations one time. The only thing I show more than once are the actual houses. So I'm going to show how I colored in the wood grain house from the Mouse House stamp set, as well as how I colored in the green grassy hill of the Bunny Burrow. So for all of the browns in my images, I'm using my BRs from Oh Hoo Hoo Art Markers. These are the Honolulu style markers, and I used BR1 as my darkest tone, BR2 as the mid-tone, and here I am using BR3 as the lightest tone. So I started with the darkest color to add in shadows, and I will do that for all of my images. And then I bring in a mid-tone if it's a larger image, and then a lighter tone to completely cover the whole image. Again, I tend to use 2 colors when coloring in images, but if I have a large space to color in, I will use 3. So I use that color combination for all the rest of the items and critters that are brown. So I'm using these same 3 colors to color in my cute little hedgehog, as well as the wooden doors and the tree stumps. I think that's pretty much it. I think I also used the brown for the windows, but pretty much anything brown on this card is a color combination of these 3 colors. Once I have my hedgehog colored in, the combination I use for kind of the pink ears for all of my animals are YR070 as my darker tone and E030 as the lighter. And that will be all the little peachiness of all my critters, including my cute little worm. For the greens on this card, I colored in the burrow as well as my trees and the leaves on all of my plants. Anything that would be green is the same 3 color combination. So for the darkest tone, I started with G300, my mid-tone is GY42, and the lighter tone is GY8. So again, I'm using 3 colors because my burrows it's a very large image as well as these trees, so I wanted to make sure I had enough color contrast and enough shadow, so I'm going to use 3 different tones. So after I colored in most of the green, I want to show you how I colored in the burrow, just like I did the little wood tree stump from my mouse house. I just kind of jump in between the colors here so you just get an idea of how I added the color. I'm using this darkest tone on the burrow by adding in shadow around the kind of cobblestone design around the door at the bottom of the hill, so creating that shadow. And I'll add a little bit above my windowsill just to give that some shadow as well. And then I'll add more along the top of my hill. So just trying to, I don't really have like a major light source on any of my cards. So just creating where I think shadows would be, just pretty much where I think it would look cute. So once I have all of the shadow down, I'm going to bring in that midtone, again the GY42, and extend that shadow out. Just really trying to bring that color out and creating, less of a shadow and more of a midtone. And once I have extended that out and filled in more of the area on my little burrow, I'm going to grab my lightest color and then completely cover the whole image, doing my best to really try to blend in between all three of these colors and fill in the rest of my cute little bunny burrow. After my greens, I'm going to move on to kind of a warmer yellowy gray for my mushrooms. So I'm using YG080 as my darker tone. And again, I am filling in anywhere where I think the white or gray part of a traditional red looking mushroom that you would find in this little whimsical critter neighborhood, and YG040 as the lighter tone. So very similar to the rest of my coloring. I'm just using two shades, a darker one to add in the shadow and a lighter one to fully blend out and color in the image. And then for the red of my adorable little whimsical mushrooms, I'm using R150 as the darker tone and R070 as the lighter tone. And R070 has a little bit more of an orangey tint to it, and I really like this color combination for mushrooms. For my mouse house, I'm going to use two different types of gray to color the door. I'm going to use RG080 as a darker tone for the red grays, followed by RG050 for my midtone, and finally RG030 as the lighter tone. I don't know how I feel about the red gray and the yellow gray together. I like the distinction, but maybe a green door would have been cuter, but I still think it turns out really nice. For my oranges on the card, which are going to be my leaves, I'm going to start with my darkest color as YR180, my midtone is YR172, and my lighter tone is YR170. My go-to color combination is Y2 and Y070, and that's going to be my cute little cheese gift and my flowers. For all the blues on the card, I'm going to use a three-color combination. I'm using B090, B070, and B050 to color those in. I know it seems like a lot for this tiny little scarf, but I will bring in more blue other places on my card. For my two mice and my rabbit, I'm going to use warm grays. So to color in the shadow, I'm starting with WG090. And again, very similar to how I colored in my hedgehog, just adding the darkest tone where I think shadow would be. That would make my critter look the cutest. And then the midtone is WG070. So going over those dark parts and bringing out that color and blending it into the white. And finally WG050 to completely color in my cute little mouse. I'm going to use that same color combination like I did for my hedgehogs for the ears inside of my mice, as well as the nose detail on my rabbit. So after I'm done coloring in my mice, I'll color in my rabbit, same color combination, except I'm going to bring in WG01 to add a little bit of shadow to its little cottontail. And then for the snow on all of my snow images, so this snow bank that will go on top of my bunny burrow and the little snowballs, I'm just going to use BG3 to add in a shadow to my snow. So it still looks really white, but has this kind of like pale blue gray color to be the shadow. And those are all the color combinations that I used. I'll go ahead and use the coordinating dies off camera, and I have all of my images to create my scenes in individual trays for my 3 cards. If you have any questions about any colors that I use, just let me know in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. So now that all of that stamping and coloring is done, let's move on to making our backgrounds. I know that I want to use this center burst die set. I've never used it before, and I thought it would be a fun way to create a unique background and just add a little bit of interest than just having a plain panel. So I'm cutting 3 pieces of mixed media cardstock, and I'm going to do some ink blending with Distress Oxide. So I know that I'm creating 3 different seasonal scenes. So I'm going to have a winter scene, a spring summer scene, and a fall scene. So I'm going to start with my winter colors. And for this background, I'm going to mix in tumbled glass with shaded lilac. And I'm using my little blending buddy brushes to add that color. So I'm going to go about halfway up the cardstock, I guess a little bit more than halfway, with my tumbled glass. And then I'll move over to shaded lilac, and I will go the other way. So I want to really blend in my 2 colors together in the center of my background. I'm trying to create a nice blended color sky scene. So I go back and forth with my colors and I blend them together until I'm happy with how it looks. And again, really try to blend those 2 colors together in the center. And when I'm done ink blending, I'm going to grab my Opal Color Pigment watercolors, and there are 6 different colors. You can kind of see the subtle rainbow look when the lighting is just right. So I'm going to use the purple of my opals and add a little bit of water to my little watercolor. And I have a fine tip brush that I'll use just to splatter on that metallic watercolor onto my background. I'll go ahead and set that aside to dry, and I will clean up my desk so I can move on to the second color combination. So for this one is going to be my spring or summer background, and I'm going to use salvage patina and peacock feathers, which I know is more of a teal kind of color sky, but once I lay on my cute little images, and I don't go too crazy heavy-handed with my ink blending, except for the peacock feathers. I love the timing. I said I don't go too heavy-handed, and then it was like bright teal. But I love this color combination for a summer or spring sky. I know it looks pretty green right now, but like I said, once I get everything laid out on it at the end of the card, I think it makes a really nice summery spring background. I'm cleaning off my brush, and this time I'm going to add in the green splatter, or the green opal watercolor as my splatter. So I just thought it would complement the salvage patina and the peacock feathers really well. Once I'm done with that splatter, I'll go ahead and set that background aside to dry, clean up my desk again, and we will do our third background, which will be our fall and autumn scene. And for this one, I'm using scattered straw and dried marigold. Again, I have my blending brushes to help me add this ink onto my mixed media cardstock. The little gray sticker that I've added to my blending buddies is just so I know that these are for my Distress Oxide inks. I went ahead and blended those 2 colors together. I think this one's my favorite. It just blended so nicely. And I added some of the opal orange splatter to that background. So now my first background is dry. I'll go ahead and run it through my die cut machine with my center burst die set, and I'll go ahead and put all these pieces into another little tray so that way it's set aside and ready to go for when I put my winter card together. Next, I did my fall and autumn background, and finally my summer background. So all 3 were cut the same. I'm going to show how I'm going to make my background. Now you can keep these little sunburst pieces separated to fill in an A2 card background. You could also die cut this die twice and go like in a full circle to create a slimline card. You can see here it looks like half a slimline card, but I'm going to adhere these to a piece of white cardstock panel that will measure 3.5 by 5.5, and that will fit onto my card base when I'm ready. So I'm just going to use my paper trimmer to cut a piece of cardstock, like I said, 5.5 by 3.5, and I'm going to glue these different burst pieces onto this white panel. So for some reason, I started with the middle panel. It would be so much easier to start with a corner piece because you can line it up perfectly onto that white cardstock panel that I cut. I don't know why I did this. Don't do as I say, not as I do on this part. Start with a corner. It's so much easier to make sure that your pieces are lined up straight and will fit on the panel. But after I did the center one, I grabbed one of the corner panels, and I'm using liquid adhesive to glue these down because it gives me a second to make sure I have my pieces lined up and that they fit nice and snug together. And I'll go ahead and finish off my kind of sunburst, the center burst dies background. And once I get all the pieces on it, that's going to be the sky of the background of my cute little critters and their homes. But I want to add my ground. So I'm going to grab that hill, the largest hill or the sloped hill of the from the Embossed Edge Hills and Slopes die set. And for my spring and summer card, as well as my autumn fall themed card, I'm going to use this kind of darker fern green cardstock. I thought it matched perfectly with my little bunny slopes. And then later on for my winter card, I'm going to do the same die with some sparkly white cardstock because I want it to look like snow on the ground. I'm adding my foam adhesive to my panel and then using my grid mat to just adhere down this slope. Now I definitely could have trimmed this down to fit. I could have made it 3.5 inches wide and just adhered it right onto the background, but I wanted to make sure my slope looked even and it wasn't higher on one side than the other, so I die cut a larger piece and then just trimmed off the excess following the panel edges with some large scissors. So now my background is done and I can start adding in my stamped images. Now the Bunny Burrow stamp set, or the die for the stamp set, cuts out the little window and cuts open the door, which I think is so fun for making interactive cards, but I'm not making an interactive card today. So I just put a little bit of clear tape on the back to keep that door closed, and then also allows me to put in that window so it fits nicely in the little die cut that cut it out. And then I'm going to cover the top half of my bunny burrow with foam adhesive, and I peeled off all the release paper, and then I'm adding liquid adhesive to the bottom of my bunny burrow so I can glue this to my background and overlap it with that green die cut hill. So I guess it didn't really matter too much that my slope was centered, but it still looks really cute even though it doesn't really matter if it's perfectly centered or not because I hid most of it with my bunny burrow. Next, I'm going to tuck in this little tree, and I'm actually going to go off the edges of my panel just a little bit. I also glued down the little cobblestone steps that go up to my bunny burrow, these adorable flowers that I colored. I'm just tucking those in behind my burrow. And then I'm going to also use liquid adhesive to glue these presents onto the card. Now I want my bunny and my little worm and my little firefly to be popped up. So I'm going to bring in more foam adhesive. It's the same thickness that I used for my hilly background. And I'm adding in my little images, and I popped up my little firefly onto the sky background. And that will be our first scene. I repeat the same process exactly like I did for the first card with my winter scene, but like I said, instead of using green cardstock, I used a glittery white cardstock for my hill, so it looks nice and snowy. And I'm going to go ahead and attach this second bunny burrow, and as you can see, that little snow piece just fits so nicely on top of this little burrow. I think it looks so cute. I love this little scene put together. I like the sky. It feels very wintry and icy, which I think makes this card a lot of fun. And I'm just repeating this process. I put my tree in the background, my little cobblestone steps, and this time I'm gluing my presents to the left side of my little burrow. And I'm going to use foam adhesive to pop up my little pile of snowballs in front of my gifts, as well as my two little hedgehogs with their adorable little blue scarves. And that will finish off my winter birthday card scene. For the final one, I again assembled my background the same way as the first two cards, bringing back in that green for my ground. And this time I'm putting in my little mouse house as my little house on my scene. I forgot to add liquid adhesive when I glued this down, so I'm just picking it up carefully and adding some glue before fully pressing down my image. And then very similar to the other cards, I'm going to tuck in my mushrooms on the sides of my house rather than a tree like my other cards. I will also add my cute little snail on the top of the house. I did add some foam adhesive behind its eyes and then use liquid glue to attach it to the house. I use liquid glue to glue on my orange little leaves, but I am popping up my two little mice and the little cheese gift. I just think that's so darn cute. And that will finish off my third scene. Now, like I said, this video was recording and I'm at like a 3.5 hour mark, and my camera decided that that was enough filming. So I completely missed recording some of the final steps of my card. So I did attach all these panels to the center of my A2 cards. And here is how I stamped my sentiment. I actually did all of my die cutting first for my birthday sentiment, and then I lined up the stamp into one of the openings of the die cuts, and then I put the die cut pieces into my negative space and stamped onto my die cut pieces, and that allowed me to stamp the happy birthday 3 times very quickly. And then I also added some rhinestones. These are the beautiful rainbow rhinestone collections, a little bundle. And I used the kind of light blue, the light orange, and the light purple rhinestones with my jewel pickup stick tool and my little tray here for rhinestones. And here is how all 3 cards turned out. So here is my spring and summer card. You can see my birthday sentiment and the rhinestones were added to them. And I added the birthday sentiment the same for all 3 cards, but just kind of mixed up the rhinestone location a little bit and the different sizes that come in the rhinestone embellishment bundles. But I love the purple on the blue for the icy snow, and of course this nice peachy orange color to finish off the autumn card. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Here are some close-ups of my cards. I'd love to know which card was your favorite and if you like to make seasonal birthday cards. I really think I don't know if I can pick a favorite one. They're all so cute. I think the icy sky is probably my favorite, but I really like that cute little gray bunny and the little mouse cheese gift. So let me know what you think down below in the comments. And here is more inspiration for you to check out today. Thanks for watching. Bye.